Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Today we're going to talk about phenomenal tracks that take up an entire side of an album. I've chosen 10. I'm going to start off here with a great live album from 1972 from the Mothers of Invention. The album is called Just Another Band from LA. The track is called Billy the Mountain. It's the only track on side one. It goes on for 24 minutes. One of Zappa's most humorous, demented tracks. 24 minutes of Flo and Eddie and Zappa trading off humorous barbs about a mountain and his lovely wife Ethel, a tree growing off his shoulder, and their adventures throughout LA. They're trying to get to New York, and in the middle of all the chaos, Billy gets a draft notice. So that's just part of the story, but just an incredible, demented, funny, humorous story that only Zappa could produce. Flo and Eddie add some just great backup vocals. It's amazing just how they would remember all this stuff night after night on tour. All the little instrumental bits, all the improvisation from everybody that's going on in the track, especially Flo and Eddie. It's so good. Highly recommend it if you've never heard it. It's 24 minutes of just pure creativity, dementedness, top Zappa, in my opinion. Billy the Mountain from Just Another Band from LA from 1972 off the Reprise label. Moving into a completely different thing here, we've got the track Pursuance Part 4 Psalm from, of course, A Love Supreme from John Coltrane. Great album. I've always loved, this is the CD, obviously, but if you break it down in the original album, this is entire track on side 2. So it starts off with drum solo from Elvin Jones, kind of building up, goes into a Coltrane kicking in after the drum solo with some sheets of sound. Then you got this really cool kind of understated bass solo from bassist Jimmy Garrison. Then it kicks into the finale, which I assume is the psalm part. About 10 minutes of just incredible emotional playing from John Coltrane and the drums and everything going on. It's almost kind of like the sky is opening, the sun is coming and bursting through the clouds. Just emotional, beautiful, incredible way to end the album. Incredible track from John Coltrane off of Love Supreme. And speaking of A Love Supreme, another great John Coltrane long side track is from Africa Brass. The track called Africa, which is very influential to a lot of psychedelic bands in the mid-60s, like the Byrds, 8 Miles High. They were playing this a lot on tour before they recorded that song. But yeah, it goes on for about 29 minutes. Has that same kind of motif like 8 Miles High has, repeating, and just a really landmark composition. So Africa off Africa Brass from John Coltrane. And speaking of the Byrds, their untitled album from 1970, just titled The Byrds. Half of it's live, half of it's studio. A lot of great studio cuts on here, Just a Season, Take a Whiff, but on track, or actually side 2, you've got a 16-minute version of 8 Miles High, which is really different than the studio version. It's more kind of jam-like, more Allman Brothers sounding. In fact, it kind of starts off with just full-on jamming, and then finally at the end you get like a verse of 8 Miles High in the chorus. But what's really amazing about this version, amazing about this period in the band, is everybody is such an amazing player. You've got Clarence White on guitar, just phenomenal. You've got Skip Batten on bass, and you've got Gene Parsons on drums, and they're just locked into this groove during this 16-minute version of 8 Miles High. It's just incredible. And the playing, it's just so dead on and perfect. So another great one here from the Byrds, from Untitled, from 1970, the full side of side 2, 8 Miles High. If you've never checked it out, check it out. There's a lot of great live footage of this track too, from different performances on YouTube if you want to check that out. And then one of the greatest prog rock pieces ever, Close to the Edge by Yes from 1972. I saw Yes perform this entire album and Fragile, I think it was about 10 years ago, at the Greek Theater in LA, and this was the highlight here. This track, Close to the Edge. Steve Howe still has all his chops. They had a different singer. John Anderson wasn't with them at this time. He was doing his own thing, but you still had the late Chris Squire. In fact, I think Chris Squire passed away shortly after that tour that I saw, so it was cool to see him one more time. Rick Wakeman wasn't with him in this particular performance, but you had, I believe, pretty much half of the original lineup. But yeah, this is really a transcending track. A lot of great, a lot of, what would you say about, yes, they do go off on a lot of tangents, but that's kind of, that's the whole thing, right? With Prog a lot of the time. But it really works here with this track. All the parts just kind of flow into one another. John Anderson's vocals are just really, really smooth and nice. All the instrumentation, it's just a phenomenal track. So Close to the Edge, side 1 from 1972, taking up the entire side. Just a phenomenal prog rock track. I was just listening to this the other day. Whipping Post from the Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. What a kick-ass track. I always loved the studio track, but man, this live version is so amazing. Goes on for about 22 minutes on side 4. Starts off just like a freight train, just kicking ass. Dickie Betts and Duane Allman, just incredible interplay going on. Greg Allman, one of the greatest white blues vocalists ever. And the whole band, the percussion, the bass playing, everything, just on fire. Then they go in, they break it down a little bit in the middle and they slow it down, and it goes into these really beautiful little passages and improvisations, and then they kick it up at the end, and then Greg Allman, delivers his last little, sometimes I feel part. Yeah, just absolutely incredible. That's the thing about the Allman Brothers I always love. Even though I'm not a big fan of jams, they always do these really cool, really inventive, creative, melodic jams that really hit you in an incredible way. So yeah, Whipping Post off Fillmore East, definitely one of my favorite, full tracks on one side efforts. Incredible. So that's one. Another great one too is off of another great jazz album, In a Silent Way, Miles Davis. There's only 2 tracks on this album. This is the CD. Unfortunately, I don't have the vinyl. One of these days I want to get the vinyl, but the song Shh, Peaceful on side 1 is just unlike really anything. It's kind of the beginning of jazz fusion. You've got so many incredible players on this album. You've got Herbie Hancock on piano, Chick Corea on electric piano, Wayne Shorter again appears, Dave Holland on bass, John McLaughlin on guitar, and this is a few years before Mahavishnu. But the whole album has this just really floating in space kind of vibe, very ethereal sounding. The drums throughout this entire song are just doing the same thing. I don't think even a snare hit is featured on this entire track, Shh, Peaceful. It's just throughout the whole thing. There was a lot of editing done on this album to kind of make it flow in a certain way. But yeah, it's just 17 minutes and 58 seconds of just really imaginative playing and an incredible vibe. Love this album. One of my favorite Miles Davis albums. The track Shh, Peaceful. Incredible stuff. Another great track is off another live album. The original track of this was on Procol Harum's Shine On Brightly. Took up most of the side of side 2. The song is called In Hell 'Twas in I. This is the live version from the in concert with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra from 1971. So they had the orchestra to back them up, and this is an incredible version of If Hell 'Twas in I, a live version. You've got all the different parts on here, Glimpses of Nirvana, 'Twas Tea Time at the Circus, and The Autumn of My Madness, which I just love that portion of the song, Look to Your Soul, and then of course the grand finale. Great live album, great live version of In Hell 'Twas in I, one of the earliest prog rock tracks in rock and roll. And yeah, check it out if you haven't heard it. If you've never heard the live version of this, check this out. The studio version is awesome as well on Shine On Brightly. But yeah, just an amazing track with a little bit of spoken word in the beginning, I believe it was originally done by Matthew Fisher. I don't know who's doing it on the live album, but I think it's Gary Brooker. But incredible album, incredible track. Another instance kind of similar to the Procol Harum track. In 1972, Genesis put out an album called Foxtrot with the phenomenal Supper's Ready, sung by Peter Gabriel. Live, it was just this unbelievable theatrical presentation with all these costume changes. On the original album, though, it featured this track called Horizons by Steve Hackett. so it wasn't a full-length track on side 2 of Foxtrot, but here it is, full-length on their live album, Genesis Seconds Out, with Phil Collins taking the lead vocals from Peter Gabriel, as he had left the band at this point. And this is a great live version. You don't have the theatrical stuff going on. Obviously, Phil Collins is just delivering the song straight on, but all the parts of this amazing track are intact. The playing's amazing. They still have Steve Hackett at this point. Supper's Ready, to me, is just one of the greatest, longest prog tracks of all time. There's so many different moods and changes. It's almost like, 8 or 10 different little tracks strewn together, but it all really works well. So yeah, this is the version of Supper's Ready, which takes up all of side 3 on Seconds Out from 1978 from Genesis. Just a phenomenal song, Supper's Ready. And last but not least, off the Blonde on Blonde album, Bob Dylan. Last song of the album, the full side 4, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. And a track that just to this day, it perplexes. There's so much mystique in it. It's such an odd melody too. You feel like it's going to end, but it goes into this other, I don't know how you even explain it. It's just a magical, majestic track, incredible lyrics, and just credible feel. Goes on for about 10 minutes. That's an entire track on side 4. So amazing album, amazing track. Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands from 1966 from Dylan. So those are my phenomenal tracks that take up an entire album side. I kind of featured maybe even some classical, maybe some more jazz, but let me know what you can throw into the comments section on this subject. And thanks for watching. Please press subscribe. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.